To reconvene our meeting, call it to order, excuse me. It is July 19th, this is the Lee Selectboard meeting. Time is 7 o'clock, and our first order of business are the minutes from both June 21st and July 5th.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a comment about June 21st. If you go to the general business on the third page, item 4A, I had asked that it be noted that I recused myself from the discussion and the vote on that issue. That was the one-day liquor license.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not part of the minutes, so if I make, I don't know if, Bob, you had anything else?
I just have on page is it? Not numbered. The next to last page, it's a top line. It says the cleanup is totally inaccurate. I think it was supposed to be insufficient.
Okay. Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chairman, with those two changes and amendments, I would move acceptance of these with those changes.
I'll second it.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 So that's
That was the
21st.
Yeah.
And I have the minutes from July 5th in front of me. I don't have any corrections that I noticed, but
I didn't have any either. So I'll make a motion. We accept the minutes for July 5th.
I'll second it.
if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearings today, we have one, a liquor license for FDR Food Group doing business as Roses. This is for 160 Housatonic Street. We have somebody a representative from Roses here. Come on up. So I have your license. This is a license certification here, but maybe you can just walk us through what you did over there and what you're asking for us. And
Yep, so, we're serving breakfast and lunch 7 to 2, and we would like to be able to serve some brunch cocktails. That's the idea. Not a lot of selection, just like 3-4 drinks. Otherwise, we would just do beer and wine, but obviously for cocktails, we need like the full liquid. That's the only reason that we would like to apply for that.
what hours are you open?
7 to 2. 7 to 2 every day, and we're closed on Tuesdays.
Should be kind of breakfasty, brunchy kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, we're not expecting anything crazy like during the week, but I think Friday, Saturday, Sunday, those would be probably the ones that people would order those.
Okay. I didn't have any questions from what I looked at there.
Yeah. Bob?
No, it seems quite straightforward.
Do we typically ask for tips certifications in this?
They will need to have it before they,
Do we have that?
Yeah,
And no, we don't have it yet.
we don't have it yet.
But
We
I'm
gotta do
working
it.
on it. I spoke
Yeah,
with the
it's
lady that
fancy.
helped me, and she told me about it, so I'm working on it. It was just a little challenging, with the opening, but we'll
Yeah.
have it. We'll definitely have it.
No, I think at this point, I mean, I don't have any further questions, but at this point, I'd like to give anybody a chance. This is a public hearing, so if anybody would like to say, comment, questions, anything. So I don't see any. I'd entertain a motion to accept or to approve the liquor license.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Good luck to you, I suppose.
Thank you very much.
Thank
If there's
you.
nothing further, hang on, we haven't voted yet, but if there's nothing further, if there's nothing further, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Very good.
done.
Thanks so
Thank
Good
much.
luck. Welcome to
Thank
town.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Mhm.
So we all need to sign this, right, Chris?
Yes, for the ABCC.
That right there for later. Our next order of business is public comments. So if anybody has something to say now about anything on the agenda or anything outside of the agenda, please feel free to come forward and be heard. Tim?
Yes, I'd like to bring some things to the attention of the town.
And just, I think we know who you are at this point, Tim,
Yes,
but just
okay.
for, if you could,
I'm the Houstonic, from the Houstonic River Initiative. I'm the executive director, and we are fighting both the permit and trying to help fight the dump here. And the first thing I want to tell you about is just that people need to get used to, some of the people around here think that EPA has this great authority to write letters to people and scare them and this and that, and DEP is the same way, Massachusetts DEP. But I want to tell you what Massachusetts DEP is up right now. About 4 months ago, we sent a Freedom of Information Act to the DEP, and we been waiting and waiting and waiting. Usually it doesn't take too long, but it was going on and on and on. Finally, about 5 or 6 days ago now, they sent us a letter and said, your FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, is ready. And it's going to cost you $3,600. Now, nonprofits generally don't have to pay, according to all the lawyers I talk to, okay? But let's say, okay, so maybe there's an outstanding reason they have to pay, So we decided, we've been raising money, and we decided, I talked to everybody on the league committee, on my board, everybody, and we said, guess what? Let's pay that $3,600, because we want that for you. See, we think they're hiding things from us, big things that could affect our town in the future. So, and we'll go and what are they hiding if they're asking us for $3,600, but we decided to do call their bluff on it. And as soon as we called their bluff and said, where do we pay you? And we'll be down to get it. And it didn't take more than about 5 or 6 hours, and they write us back. And they say, well, guys, we've recalculated the situation financially. We've run some other numbers, this and that. And now to come pick up the FOIA, it's going to be $34,000. This is our DEP. And I mean, I grew up, outside of New York City, so we all knew what shakedowns were, and I really feel that's what's happening here. They're shaking us now. Now, the big question is, what are they hiding? What are they hiding? If they're trying to get $34,000 out of us, they must be hiding something awful good, I would suspect. But of course, we don't have that $34,000. So what I've done is right now it's out at about maybe 15 press outlets around, and we're fighting back in the press because we can't afford that. So I just wanted to let you know that's what the DEP is doing. And then the EPA wrote this very intense letter trying to scare the Board of Health. And guess what they did? They scared the Board of Health, And, Bob and I and a bunch of us has been working on this Board of Health issue. And I want to tell the town about this tonight, okay? Is that people in the town might remember years ago we stopped the power plant up near my house, that part of town, huge power plant. It was approved by the Massachusetts Power Plant Siting Council. Everything was written and done. Everybody was telling us we cannot beat this. And that's when I met a guy named Cristobal Boniface. As a young guy, he ended up growing into one of the greatest world's environmental lawyer, okay? I mean, his resume is crazy, And so what's going on now is, we're trying to get the Board of Health to hold a hearing. Now, under this law, and this is what happened with the power plant too, the Board of Health has, according to Cristobal, not according to the EPA is trying to scare the Board of Health that they don't have this authority. But Cristobal says, yeah, Massachusetts, he showed me, I have the laws if you want to see them, and they're there. And so the bottom line is Cristobal the Board of Health is worrying us, I guess. They're worrying us, okay? So the EPA sends this crazy letter to the Board of Health. They immediately go backwards about 5 weeks from where Bob and I were working with them, and they say to us, well, we've got to listen to this EPA stuff, or we got to be worried about it, And we believe that letter, my lawyers believe that it's a big scare tactic to scare the hell out of them. But I want you to see, so they're scared to do this. And we believe that the Board of Health has a responsibility to this town, because how many times have we sent the message that we don't want this done? Referendums, a couple of selectmen's races, things like that. I mean, it's pretty clear our people have voted on the side of not wanting this done. And we believe the Board of Health owes a responsibility to the town of Lee to hold this adjudicatory hearing, but they seem to be scared to go there. And Christabel will come out and meet with the Board of Health. He's 88, guys, but he is smart, and he's in court right now, and he's as smart as any, very, very smart. Now, he has offered to the town of Lee that we are really stupid if we don't take, okay? Which is that if the Board of Health goes ahead and does the adjudicatory hearing, that if there's any ramifications in any way, shape, or form, and I can imagine them coming after us in some way, shape, or fashion, because that's the way this whole thing is just, shaping up. And Christabel will represent the town and the Board of Health pro bono. He will not charge you anything till it's all done. And I gave the Board of Health that letter that said, where he said he would do that. And they're still scared, So right now I'm trying to, I talked to Christabel today. He said he'd, come out and talk to the Board of Health if need be. What I'm saying is that this is the chance for HRI, for the town of Lee to come together and sort of work together, which we've been trying to do that from day one, and we're very frustrated. And, we have interests in this being solved in the right way, because, we're fighting the dump, HRI, but we are also fighting for the Housatonic River, where the cleanup is so poor. And you mark my words, 40 years from now, when they're done with the cleanup, it's going to still be contaminated, because the level, what's going on right now is exactly what just happened on the Hudson River. And if you've been following that, lawsuits everywhere. Everybody's suing. It's a mess over there, because they didn't cut the mustard. And we've done the numbers. They are not going to cut the mustard with this cleanup. They're leaving so much PCB in the river. It's almost like, it's hard for me to say. It's almost like, why are we even doing this? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just stupid. But anyway, so this offer's on the table from Christabel. And so what happens at this hearing? HRI is footing the bill for everything, okay? And that's what we're offering. I now have 3 of the world's leading scientists coming to this hearing, if we have this hearing. The top PCB guy in the world, the lady that's not too far in stature beyond David Carpenter, who is, no doubt, everybody in the world considers him the man on PCBs. He's promised to come to this hearing. This lady, Wendy Bernays from Boston University, who is also a PCB specialist, and she did this volatilization. I'm big on volatilization. She did that study in New Bedford. And guess what's happening in New Bedford is they're all volatilizing into the air, and they're finding people with levels in their bodies and stuff. It's not a good thing. And out there they build, you can't imagine this stuff, but out there they have a dump in the estuary. If you can imagine that thing. They call it a confined disposal facility. So here's the estuary, and then they build a dump out like this, sticking out into the estuary, and it's supposed to be great, but you go down there and there's some days in the estuary there's 8-foot waves, coming in from the ocean. It's not a good idea what they did out there either. So anyway, let's see. We just hope that the Board of Health will see the thing. Now, I want to go back, is that I know that Bob and Gordon have already said to me that they might come along with us and and talk to the Board of Health, because we think maybe talking to them will help us get there. And I would really invite you along, Sean, if you want to come.
I'll come.
Because this is a chance. You know, it's still not, you know, set in stone that we can win this thing, but this is something, we've used it before, it worked, okay? They, you know, I'll say, you know, Cristobal just 4 years ago, I know Gordon and Bob know this, but he, you remember the Kinder Morgan pipeline about 4 years ago? It's going through the North County, you know, it was a done deal, everything this and that, everybody was scared. So he lives in Conway. The pipe's gonna go right to Conway, so they picked up the wrong place to put it. So Cristobal got the Deerfield Board of Health, and they used the same law, and they held a hearing, and the Board of Health ruled that this pipeline was going to be harmful to the people of Deerfield and Conway, and they, so that's really kind of what I wanted to say tonight. I'm just saying there's this offer from Cristobal that if we blow this, you know, it's trouble, I think, you know, and like I say, we at HRI, we're worried about this, and we're not, you know, we haven't put aside thinking about standing up for ourselves in this whole thing too, you know, so we don't even want to really go there, but I just want to tell you that we've got 30 years into this fight, and we want this river cleaned up, and if we can make it happen in any way, shape, or form, we want to do that. So you guys got to think about it. Now that Sean says he'll come, I think maybe we can talk to the Board of Health, and then this thing will all make sense. Cristobal has offered to come out to this meeting. If you want him to come, he will come out, and
Which meeting are you talking about?
well, he could come with our meeting if you
okay.
want.
Yeah.
You know, he's offered. He says, you know, he's 88. He says, if you come pick me up, and I have some of the people in this room have offered to go pick him up. Okay, and we have quite a few other people. Everybody's ready to go pick him up.
Yeah.
And he lives in Conway, which is just a little north of Hatfield, so it's not that far, you know. And anyway, I'm just saying this is a way for us to maybe work together, and we, you know, there's got to be a way we can slowly work out of the, you know, the BS that's been going on in this town for quite a few years, and a lot of it before you guys, you know. And I just think, you know, it's either that or else it's going to be a mess, I think, you know. And I just think, and let me just tell you, Cristobal, this guy is the best. He sued for the Amazon Indians in the Amazon. And if you, I want to say this too, if you Google Cristobal up, if you're interested in Cristobal, the first thing that comes up is that a judge in Ecuador, you know, sanctions Cristobal and fines him and all the stuff like this. And what was really interesting about it, so that's the first thing you see when you Google his name up, right? But what they left out is that Cristobal then went after him again. This is Chevron Texaco, by the way, and they dumped pools of oil in the jungle where all the Native Americans, and Cristobal went into the jungle, met all the chiefs, and started representing them. And the bottom line is Cristobal is an amazing, amazing guy. And what happened in the end is the new judge said, okay, he wasn't corrupt like the first judge. The new judge says, okay, Cristobal, I give you your $40,000 fine back, and you got to pay $200,000 out of your pocket, Texaco and Chevron. So he won $200,000. The case was settled. The place is getting cleaned up.
Good.
And Cristobal has numerous stories like that, so we would be foolish not to take this deal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. We're still in public comments, so yeah, come on up, man.
Anna Langlis. There's something small I just wanted to mention about. So every morning I'll get coffee at McDonald's. It's like $1 and some change.
Yeah.
Every day I drive by, I see these big, old, ugly-looking trash dumpsters out in front of Starbucks, wide open the gate, every day. And I know that there's a business across the street that had to jump through hoops. He was mandated to put his garbage disposal behind his building. Okay, why are not they being held up to the same standards? I just think it's kind of a blight. That's a personal issue. It's a blight to me. Okay. Anyway,
you want to address that, or? I mean,
I
know
don't-
what's going
yeah,
on,
I
but-
haven't noticed it, but yeah, if you
Yeah.
want.
I mean,
It
that
is
actually,
never closed, Sean.
Sure, it
Never.
came up, it actually came up at the last planning board meeting.
Okay.
And just so you know, it hasn't gone unnoticed in town. And the planning board was going to be reaching out to them to say, well, we had you screen it for a reason, and it wasn't to leave the doors open. So let's see if that action, they were going to take action, and let's see if that happens. If not, then I think that we'll have to reach out a different way to them. And, or, you know, again, it was under special permit. And it was to put it in front and enclose it was at the time
They lose
to try
parking
and
spots.
help Starbucks to have more parking places and whatnot, but it's 90% a drive-through business at this point. So, you know, the planning board could always, you know, have them come back in and say this is problematic
Yeah.
and work with them, but I know that it has not gone unnoticed. That
There's
I will
also a
let you know.
traffic issue because their delivery truck parks
Yes.
in the passing center lane.
Right, I know.
Every day
Yeah.
that I go
Yep.
out,
Yep.
they're there, and it does
Right.
hold up traffic. I don't know
Yeah.
what, you know, how much of an
Is
issue
that-
it is,
Is that also
but it's just a
something-
noticeable thing.
Is that also something as part of the site plan review, delivery
They
location?
discussed it, yes, and that was not what was told by the developer at the time on how they were gonna get their deliveries. But they did mention it, there was a spot for them to go in and unload, so there again, I think that's a matter of the planning board with the site plan, and
Okay.
they're not in compliance at this point in time if they're leaving it open and not getting their deliveries, you know, on site. But it's something else I think we could take up with the chief, if you wanna meet with them.
Okay. One of the main reasons why I wanted to come tonight is just to remind people that on August 18th is our public forum to get together and discuss all the legal concerns regarding the Rest of River agreement. And I'd like to encourage people, our town website has just improved vastly, and it's so user-friendly that you can go right on the main page and look under the current, what is it called? Current
Meetings, minutes and agendas, is that?
No.
It's right on the news section.
Oh, right on the news section.
news and announcements.
Yeah, there you go.
That is so great. So if you just go to the news and announcements, you'll see that it's listed the August 18th at the Lee Middle and High School for 6 p.m. And there's also, right beneath that, you can actually send a sample letter that they provide, the town does. Just makes it easier for people to use. So that we can all contact our local legislators, let them know how displeased we are because they have all been absent. Personally, I've witnessed even Smitty leaving at the end of the meeting, sneaking out a back door. It just makes me sad that these public officials that we put into place, none of them show up for any of our rallies, our meetings, educational stuff. The few times that they have, unfortunately, they sneak out the back door before they actually have conversations with us. So I just want to really encourage people to get to the town website and get their letters into the local legislator. We really need to have them hear us very loudly that we do not want this PCB dump in our town.
Also, through the chair, also, and you remind us to let people know that one of the reasons we developed that was so that if people have a question that they want
Yeah,
the
I was gonna say
attorneys to answer, and that would be
Oh, yeah,
a place where, that would be the place where they could write their question, and if they aren't sure quite how to ask it, they could still put it on there and we'll figure it out.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna mention
Yeah.
that in my report as well. There's a form,
Yeah.
there's a link on there, this is submit questions here.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the names are optional. but
Really,
you've
just
got-
forgot to mention it.
Okay.
But if people can't use that, obviously they can
Yeah.
bring in a question, call, whatever,
Sure,
but
sure.
just as a handy, because that'll give us a complete list, but, so it just,
Wonderful.
it gives there's 3 boxes to ask up to 3 questions, you hit submit, and then it tallies them all, so.
Super. And I just want to say that coming in now to these meetings with the 3 of you sitting there together and working together, and Chris, you sitting there too, that it feels so different today that sitting out in the audience, I don't feel like I'm going to get somebody rolling eyes at me. I don't get laughed at when I come up to the podium. And I appreciate all the respect and all the hard work. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Just a moment, Sean.
Sure, Bob.
I just, wanted to touch upon a couple of things that both Tim and Ann spoke on. Number one, the Board of Health. I do hope the Board of Health is going to pursue this. I think we all need to reach out to them and encourage them to bring Cristobal in. They're very, very nervous about this. They want to make sure they get it right. They're worried about the town getting sued, understandably. They're worried about being wrong. They're worried about just misstepping. And I would encourage Tri-Town to hear out what HR has to say, what Cristobal has to say, because as Tim has said, it's worked in the past. And I've spoken with Charlie Kenny, and they feel like this is supposed to be some sort of balanced meeting or an informational meeting. I had offered to do just an informational introduction to give them a heads up before there was an actual official hearing of sorts. But they feel that there should be some sort of balance there, that we should have other people like GE and this is not an academic debate. This is not, this is a fight for this town and for the other towns in the Berkshires and for the Housatonic River. And I expect that Tri-Town would sit back, more like a judicial panel, and make the right call. But it doesn't have to be set up like an academic debate. We're looking for facts as to how to stop this dump. And as Tim has said, we've gotten the message loud and clear through elections, through votes, through town representatives, and everything. The people in this town don't want the dump. And and I've heard it before, there may be some people who want the dump, sorry. There may be some people in Lee who think the earth is flat, and that's okay too. But most people in Lee think the earth is round, and we don't want the dump. Okay, so that's I would encourage all of us to reach out to Tri-Town and just have a meeting, hear what they have to say, and see where we go from there. The other thing is with the DEP, $34,000 for minutes or for information. Smitty himself told me that it was planned in advance. The DEP, all the reps, Neil, Markey, Smith, everybody was going to be hands off on this. What kind of government is that? Where they're going to step aside and the EPA walks in and says, oh, we've decided we're going to have a PCB dump there. You don't have a choice. Oh, you do have a choice. You can have 3 dumps or you can have 1 dump. Or if you fight us, you're not going to get any money. But if you don't fight us, we'll give you 25 minutes. They come in and dictate terms. What kind of government is that? That's what we're facing. And finally, it's out on the table. We know what we're talking about. You know, we're getting railroaded here in the Berkshires. The whole premise for this thing was to keep the people in the dark. The whole premise was to get signatures on a paper. I haven't gone to a single meeting since I was appointed to Rest the River. You know why? Because they don't need me or any of the others in these towns. They figure it's a done deal. They've kicked local government to the side. And that's the way it's been since the beginning. And it's about time that we as voters start doing something about it. Write those letters. Show up on the 18th. You know, if you got a cousin in Omaha, tell them to show up on the 18th. Because we at this table need some clear direction. Ask all the questions you want to ask, but we need some clear direction, and we're looking for the go-ahead to fight this thing. That's what I'm looking for. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else, public comments? All right, I think we'll move ahead to general business. First order of general business, we have a committee update. I believe we have somebody here from the Historical Commission. Yes. If you would like to come up, let us know who you are. Susan.
Hi, I'm Susan Stone. I'm chair of the Lee Historical Commission. I'm just here to tell you what we've been up to and where we are. At present, we have 5 of 7 seats filled. Our newest member, Brian Noel, joined us in 2020. I want to say we need more members. We need 2 more members. We have, our committee has been some of these people have been in since 2012. They're ready, they need to, some of them want to retire, but they're afraid to because they don't want to leave us high and dry. So I don't know if on your website, we could put out a plea for, because we have a lot of work to do.
Absolutely, and there is a section right now with a number of boards, so we can add that one to it.
Yes, we really need people to come, because we are doing a lot of work now. Most of our effort has gone to acquiring a matching grant from the Mass Historical Commission, which was given to us in March of 2022. Brian Noel, the guy that just recently joined us, has taken lead point on it. He's the project coordinator. And it's, they sort of make it say, oh, well, it's not that much. Well, it is. He's having to talk with the various people at the MHC weekly, if not more often, to comply with all the requirements for making this matching grant come to fruition. Right now, he is going for the request for performance or request for performance. And that's not a simple thing. But anyway, he's filled an eight-page application to find a consultant for our project, the survey and planning of our inventories for Lee. We anticipate probably reviewing 120 properties, which will be deeply researched, and some of them may qualify for National Historic Register assignation. They are, whatever that assignment. And the whole project is due to be done in 2023. And that's what our main focus is now, is getting all the paperwork in. And it's kind of exciting. It's a lot of fun to learn more about Lee's history, and it's intense. I have to say the Lee Historical Society has done a fabulous job promoting the Lee history. It's at the library, and they've got it on cable, calling all people. Anyway, it's a very impressive undertaking they took. What we are looking forward to in the fall is starting to investigate the demolition delay bylaw, which is somewhat the same process as for the CPA, the community preservation. It needs to be a lot of education, informing people about what it is and what it isn't, and it's a ballot question that will maybe come up next year, not this year. But we do have some properties that might fall into demolition, but we might not. We might want to keep them, a little bit longer, learn more about. So the demolition delay is the next big thing. We also are going to be part of the Community Preservation Committee, and there again, we need a good pool of members to volunteer to be on that, because there's not a lot of people to do many jobs. We are also planning on putting up historical markers at the local historic districts. There's 2 of them, one in South Lee and then our downtown. And that is a grant program as well. And then, of course, we hope to participate in your master plan project, which is coming up.
Not ours, the planning board's.
The planning board's master plan.
For the towns, but
For the
yeah,
town.
the planning board is gonna head that one up.
Right. So that's where we're at. We're busy. It's very interesting, and I really hope that there'll be a couple of interested people that will ask you to be appointed. Any questions?
Great. Yeah, it sounds like, so you're at 5 of 7. You're looking for
We're looking for
members.
at least 2, 3. I mean, like I said, there are a couple of people that would like to pull back, but they
Right, so
stay
you-
with us.
Yeah, so if you get some interest, any
Yeah.
interest, a lot of interest would be good, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Um,
Brian Noel has been a blessing. I mean,
Yeah.
he's taken on a big job, and he's very qualified for it. He's a consultant over in Albany. He lives in the Thatcher House up
Yeah.
on Golden Hill. And he's taken a keen interest, and he's been very helpful.
Do you know Gary Levier by any chance?
I do not.
Gary Levier is an author and a local historian. He has been in Great Barrington for years. He just moved to Lee.
Oh,
So you might reach out to Gary. He's a great guy. And
how do you spell his name?
Leveille, Levier.
French.
The old.
Mediator. Okay, Gary, okay, I will.
And so this project is the historical inventory of properties around in town, obviously.
Well, we
yeah.
have an inventory that was done in
This is about updating it, right?
1990, and so we applied, or 1980s. So we applied to update it, upgrade it, and get it. It's kept in a Macris in Massachusetts. They have a complete computerized thing, but much of the information is incomplete. The photos are not good, and there are about 50, we think about 50 properties that should have been included, that were built prior to 1850, that were not included in the initial inventory. And then there's some properties down in South Lee, which Bill's concerned about in terms of demolition, and they need to be researched.
And then, you mentioned the CPA, the Community Preservation Act. We're
Right.
putting a committee together for that, and that's sort of, I know the Historical Commission was a big part of that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so we need somebody to go into that, and I'd like for there to be any interested people to do that. It sort of looks like maybe I'll do it, but it's just,
And we
it shouldn't
still-
go like that.
Yeah, we spoke about this, I think, last meeting.
We've heard from a couple
Yeah.
committees, we're still waiting on a few
I know
more,
there are
but,
people at large that are interested in participating, but I don't know if you heard from committees that,
Yeah, it's on the agenda for later, but
Yeah.
Housing, Youth Commission, Kathy is here tonight, and then I had one person that was interested in an at-large seat.
Good.
So 3 right now.
Laura, is
that we
Laura
heard.
Page on that list?
No, but you can definitely add her to that
Yeah.
if she's interested. Anybody, you can email me or call me directly, we can add them to the
Okay.
list. And it's
Yeah.
on the website.
She
too, my
mentioned it a couple
contact
of,
info.
when we were starting it, that she would be very interested, but I
Okay.
don't know what has come in her life since then.
Yeah, and just to give everybody at home an idea too, the Community Preservation Act is basically a property the property tax that the town decided to implement, and then the state matches the fund, the funds that the town raises, and then this Community Preservation Act committee would
Yeah, there's a
kinda
lot of work
decide what to
to
do
get
with those
established
funds,
and
what
to understand
projects.
the rules and the
Yeah.
bylaws and that have to do with it. So there's a lot of sort of planning that needs to go once that committee is formed. They have a lot of work to do before they start taking requests or projects.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, so if people are interested, who do they get hold of, and when are your meetings, and where are they held? 'Cause
Hasn't been
people
for the-
need to know that.
Yeah, but we haven't gotten, it hasn't been
You-
established yet.
You're talking about
Your
just the
co-
historical.
historic,
no,
historical, yeah.
Historic Commission.
Oh, we meet
So-
on Tuesday nights every other month. However, because of all the stuff, we've actually been meeting every month, if not more often. So, but it's formally 7 o'clock Tuesday nights, on
Every
the altar.
Tuesday, or
Once a month.
Okay,
It's on the
so-
third, you're on the first and second.
First
We're
and
on,
The first and third.
so we're the second Tuesday.
Okay, great. Because
Yeah.
that's what people are gonna wanna know.
Second
is,
Tuesday,
when-
7
when-
o'clock.
And you meet right here in the courtroom?
Right here,
Great, all right. So the second Tuesday at what time?
7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Okay,
Because that's what people need to know if they wanna show up.
yes,
Thank you.
okay.
We'll add that, the Historical Commission to the list of committees that have vacancies right now, and for anyone interested, right in the news section, there's a box for committee appointments. If it's master plan, it has Beth Mead and who's works with the planning board, it has her email address. Anything else, my email address is on there, let me know. Or
So-
let the commission know, and you guys can recommend somebody to us as well.
And on our website, does it mention that the Historic Commission meets on the second Tuesday in the courtroom at 7?
So there's
Is there any way to find
pages
that
for
out?
each commission that has asked for a webpage has one, and they're
Okay.
posted by commission.
Great.
I don't remember if the historical had a page on there or not, so if not, we can add one.
You have a list of our members and stuff like
Yes,
that,
yep.
and that got
Okay,
updated.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Super,
Okay,
thank you very
Bob,
much.
Susan,
Yes?
if you want Gary's number, I have it here for you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're very
And,
welcome.
Also, if you want representation on the master plan,
Yes.
could you make sure that the committee makes a vote of who you would like to have represent you,
Okay,
that would be very helpful, and then get that to us.
very good.
Super, thank you very much.
Do you want this, Chris, is,
Oh, your report, that'd be great for the minutes if you don't mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Our next order of business, Youth Commission Fitness Court. Maybe, I see Kathy's coming.
Hello, Kathy
You got
Hall
it.
reporting for the Lee Youth Commission. We just have two recommendations. The Lee Youth Commission unanimously recommends that Chris Britton, our town administrator, continue to move forward with the functional training system grant, and rewrote it so I could see it, and I'm looking at my scribble. Grant, and to pursue the allocation of funds for the 38-foot by 38-foot concrete slab for the fitness court. And on this fitness court, there's gonna be 7 different stations that people can work on, and the age range is huge from, I think is it as young as toddlers maybe, or
Maybe a little
5-year-olds,
older than that,
10-year-olds?
but,
Yeah, to people my age or older. So we do definitely recommend that Chris can continue this work and find the funds for this slab, because it'll be very beneficial for the town. And the other thing is, in addition, the Lee Youth Commission unanimously recommends that we put a community center on hold until a suitable area becomes available. Because it just seems we're going round and round and round, and we're going nowhere. So we've just put it on the back burner, and if we find out that there's a suitable location, or if any of you find out and let us know, we will investigate and then make a recommendation.
Very good.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay,
Well, I
thank
have a
you.
question
Oh, yes.
on the, as far as the National Fitness Campaign, and that, is Chris working on the presumption that you already know a location that you want this to go in, or is
No,
that still part of the
that's to be
discussion?
determined, yeah,
Okay.
we had said that at a previous meeting,
Yeah,
that
Well, I
we're
didn't know
still
if-
looking at places.
Okay.
There's a
You know-
couple, do you have a couple in mind that you're?
Yes, we have a couple in mind. Do you want me to say what they are?
If you
You
want.
know, well, we're looking at East Lee, where the baseball field used to be, because nobody's using that, and that's pretty big there. And we're still looking at things for 300 Stockbridge Road. We're also looking at the newly cleared out, tell me the name of it, on Railroad
The
Street.
Bullseye.
Yes, thank you. You know, I never frequented the place, so I like my water with lemon. That's about as far as I go. So we're looking at those 3 spots right
And I think
now.
the athletic field was considered, but
Yeah.
because of the,
The wetlands,
the
yeah.
floodplain.
Floodplain, yes.
Of putting
Yeah.
concrete in may not.
Yeah.
But I would think, my impression from going to your meeting was that Eastleigh was probably the front runner.
Right, yes,
That there was an open field that.
That would be
it was
good,
Fairly
yeah.
close to.
right.
yeah.
And at the athletic field, it would just be squeezed in between the skateboard park and our little fitness area that's already there. We have 5 stations there. Take away our green space.
It's a little redundant too, right?
Yes, yeah, that it's already there. So it just gives another place for, people to go to. And it's a beautiful structure, the pictures are wonderful. So I think it'd be very beneficial to the town. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Just to kind of add a little bit, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, absolutely.
The total with that, with everything, it's 187,000. The grant that Kathy spoke of would knock off 50,000 from that, which is done for Massachusetts, is sponsored by Blue Cross Blue Shield, and it's also promoted through Maya, where we do our local insurance from, is part of that as well, which would get down to a maximum of 137 But there's some wiggle room in that depending on how we have, whether we have our public works do the slab, whether we hire it out, so forth. So for the board's consideration, because of this is an outdoor facility, it is eligible for ARPA funding because it would promote fitness and exercise outside versus being in an enclosed area and so forth. And the board had looked at, the commission rather, had considered this as a possibility of filling one of the gaps that the community center could have. So it's something that the ARPA money could be used for. I did include it in tonight's proposal, so it's up to, otherwise, obviously, we'd go to, appropriation from free cash or whatever at town meeting would be the other option, so.
So do we need a motion at this point for the youth fitness court, or is that, we're actually?
You could probably, I guess what I was getting at with that is you could probably wait for ARPA to do that, and, because it is, and part of that, and do it all as one motion, or amend that however you want to do that,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
But it is in the ARPA leader.
So I think if that's it, unless there's anything further on the fitness court, our next order of business is the committee appointments update. I think we have a whole sort of.
Would you like me to just run through that?
Sure.
Mr. Chair, sure. So we have a number of committees, and we can add the historical commission to this as well after tonight. But right now, there was a planning board alternate seat that was open, and the board had recommended for approval Conrad Decker for that position. The master plan, I'll just mention where we're at, but this is not for the select board. The planning board, of course, is doing this. But right now, confirmed Kathy will be representing the youth commission. That was, has been recommended to the planning board, I should say, by the youth commission, and Mark Navin was recommended for conservation. So the planning board will be considering those. And there was one at-large member, Gail Saricia, that had submitted a letter of interest. Again, those are for the planning board. Gail also had a letter of interest for the ZBA vacancy. And then for the CPA, and just a clarification on that one, as we kind of talked about earlier, the way the bylaw, which is approved now by the Attorney General's office, the way the bylaw read, we just did,
Okay.
like Monday, I think, yesterday. So the way that reads, that bylaw reads, is each commission that has a member will appoint their own. So as of right now, I had word that Housing Authority appointed Tom Unsworth. The Youth Commission appointed Kathy Hall the other night. And we've received one letter, at least I've received one letter, which I passed along to you guys, or one email from Tom Logston, who is interested in a at-large seat, which is appointed by the select board. In Gail's letter, she also expressed interest in the Board of Public Works and the Agricultural Commission. I believe Board of Public Works has one vacancy, Ag Commission has a number of vacancies on it. There's 4 members right now. So they, and that came from the members of the commission, had forwarded her name on as well from the Ag Commission, recommending membership on that. So it's up to the board tonight whether you want to, make any appointments at this point, but that's our update. Some of them can be, we could make some tonight. You could choose to wait, on some of them, completely up to you guys, but that's where we're at, so.
I think, with your permission, Sean, I'd like to talk to Gail personally and figure out what's going on with her, because,
She clearly wants to be involved.
she wants
right?
to be involved in some way, but is there an order of preference? Is there that sort of thing? I'd just like to have a brief conversation with her, see what she's actually looking for.
Yeah, yeah.
You can get burned out pretty quickly if you start trying to do everything.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, I would, I think that having been on the planning board before and seeing that there were only 2 interested parties, and it's been almost 2 months now that we've announced that we need someone, that, as a single motion, if you feel it's appropriate, I think Conrad Decker would make a great alternate member to the planning board. And I also had the same thought about Gil, you know, just to see, well, what do you want to focus on? Maybe one thing first and maybe two at the most, you know?
Right.
So that'd be great if you want to take that on.
I will.
I don't think that's a problem, because really, other than that, it looks like Conrad's the only one that we
Yeah, the
we have in
master,
front of us
right,
right
the
now.
master plan committee, and then we've got some, we probably want, we would obviously, I would assume that we would wanna appoint the CPA.
Can we do that?
So you're.
We
Oh,
appoint
at-large.
the at-large
There's
members.
4 at-large
There's 4,
spots.
so maybe we wait till we have 4 at-large,
Mhm.
qualified individuals for that appointment, so that makes sense.
So these three are all intentioned to be at-large
The
and
C-
not
It
to
looks like
represent?
it looks like Tom Unsworth is the housing,
Mhm.
and then Kathy Hall would be the youth, right now, the youth commission.
Well,
'Cause
their appointments should be set.
Right,
they've already,
so-
their boards have already appointed them at
Gotcha.
this point, right? So Tom Logston's the only at-large
Okay,
Yeah.
individual we have.
And it was my
in front of us.
understanding, Tom is also on the housing authority.
Gotcha.
So they were both Toms were
Mhm.
interested.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Unsworth was appointed, but Logston is still interested as well, so.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved him over to the at-large spot, so.
Okay.
but were you saying that there in total eventually could be 4 at-large members? Is
Correct,
that what I
yeah.
heard?
Yeah,
So this would only take 1 at-large spot?
as
All right,
it
I
sits
just want
right
to
now.
make sure I
Yep.
understand.
Yep.
Okay. Very good.
So, I don't think I have a motion at this point, but do we
No,
wanna?
well, if you're okay with that, I would make a motion.
I'd entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion that we appoint Conrad Decker as the alternate planning board member.
I'll second it.
Yeah, I don't have any objection with that. Anything further? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think as far as the master plan goes, my understanding is that they were also looking for 1 select board member.
Correct, I
So
think
at
we were,
some point, I didn't know if that was on the
it's
agenda.
coming, it's coming,
Oh,
yeah, we're
I'll
coming to
hold
it
on
in
that.
a minute.
Sorry, I'll hold on.
Do we have, so I guess we talked through the committees at this point. We wanna, Bob, you're gonna follow up with Gail, and we're kind of in a holding with all the other appointments at this point, so I think we can move on from there to our next order of business. We have a couple, firefighter EMT appointments, or is it just one, or did I see 2 letters in there?
There's 2,
Yeah.
Aiden and Kyle, and those are both for part-time, per diem jobs, so filling in when there's someone's on vacation, et
Gotcha.
cetera. So,
They're both recommended by the chief,
correct, yep.
fire chief.
Yeah, so we could do these one at a time, but I would entertain a motion for appointment, or this be hiring or no appointment?
Appointment.
You comfortable with that, Bob?
Yes.
I'd make a motion that we take the fire chief's recommendation and appoint or employ Mr. Kyle Pettibone and Mr. Aiden Matursky as EMT firefighters, as per diem employees.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now that brings us to where we had started kind of discussing a little bit earlier, the ARPA second appropriation, and we have a kind of a spreadsheet here. Do you want, I guess, should I just run down it?
Yeah, so the top
Do
part.
you wanna
is
run
what-
down it, Chris, or?
Up to you, I'll be
You
happy
go
to
ahead,
give you
go
a quick
ahead.
rundown. So the top half, it's shaded in gray, that was already appropriated, the spending is already started on many of those items.
And the total of that is $718,370?
Yep, and
That's the
36
total.
cents.
So that's already, we're already done with that.
Yeah, and they're now giving out the second allocation, our total being just over 1.6 million. And of course, we did, just as Bob and Sean, you may recall, did declare some of that as revenue loss, which should give us a little more flexibility, but we're still trying to connect all of these to the ARPA guidelines that has, that it's listed out. And so in your spreadsheet, it does in the ARPA category list what we would be applying those to on the ARPA category. So the first one was the cost for an environmental attorney for the 18th, and then whatever happens beyond that time. The Green Agers, which is nonprofit, we allocated some money to them back on the first allocation to do Golden Hill, and they're working on that now and have been doing a great job with it. And there was interest in bringing them back in the spring to do some work at Sandy Beach. So that was there. We did have we've had some requests from nonprofits on the first section. It was Berkshire Immigrant was the other one, the other nonprofit. And the next one here that we had a request from was Berkshire Bounty. And they do local food sustainability and providing food and meals to those in need. So that was another area. We talked about the fitness court, which is on there, and then the last section, the bulk of it, there, $500,000 in water sewer infrastructure and the paving related to that. So we do have a list of streets. We've already allocated $330,000, which is, we've started to do work with Ty and Bond on looking at bringing a water line down from through Canal Street over to Railroad to provide more flow to Main Street. And so that was the first thing we were looking at. But we have a couple other streets, in particular Robert Street and St. James, which have very limited flow, which is affecting the fire hydrants, and we actually can't use those fire hydrants. So it does affect the residents that, and I've heard some of them get higher insurance premiums because of that. Mm-hmm. So a big infrastructure part of ARPA was for water and sewer, so that's an easy one to apply to that. That was the only infrastructure that was in one of their categories. So that totals in the second round $701,000, which would leave us a balance left that we have to spend over the next year or so with $237,912, which would be available for any contingencies or if something else comes up between now and the end of that. So. Which was about what we were looking at almost the same amount as the first, right in the $700,000 mark with some extra.
Yeah, do you have a?
Yeah, I just have a question through the chair to Chris. On the Green Acres at the beach, what kind of projects were they estimated to do? Just the public would want to know.
There were a lot of it was with the beach house. I think they were going to be doing some repairs and painting on that, and then some vegetation up there. So we were actually hoping to try to do it this spring, but by the time it had come up, Green Acres was already booked on a number of other projects. But in talking to some other towns, we have a number of forests here. It may be after ARPA's gone that we may want to consider appropriating $5,000 or $10,000 a year for the state forest or town forest rather that we have, because a lot of whether it's Long Cove or Golden Hill or whatever, they don't get until a scout project or something comes along, they don't get regular maintenance, unfortunately, and they are doing that for some other towns in the Berkshire. So and of course, for those that aren't familiar, it's a group of teenagers it's a nonprofit. They bring them together during the summer to do projects like this. So, and they are doing some work also with the community garden in Lee as well. So, with some money from the first ARPA for that. So.
Chris, just a question. This is sort of I don't know whether can fall into this or not, but we had talked about those surveys up near the up near the Leahy property and the reservoirs, that doing some surveys there that were going to be quite costly if we were to implement them. Is that something that could be?
I could double check on that. It wasn't something that was brought up specifically for
Right.
ARPA, but I do have some quotes on that,
Right.
and I could see, and we could always add, like I said, there would still be
Still the balance.
237,000, so we could come
Yeah.
back at a meeting, you know.
Because it's town land that we don't really know what we
Right,
own.
right.
Right,
So
yeah.
I could check it out, and if it could come back at any selectmen's meeting,
Okay.
you know, as soon as August 2nd, if we wanted to add more to that, so.
Okay, thank you.
We can definitely check it out.
And on the outdoor fitness court, the 140, do you know what a time frame is? You're looking into doing
Yeah, so,
something as far as maybe looking for grants or whatever? What's your time frame on all this?
yeah, so depending on how soon the grant gets, when we apply for it, and as soon as we hear it, it's gonna be, you know, a weather situation, whether we
Okay.
can squeeze it into this fall or whether it would wait till the springtime. But otherwise, spring at the latest, from what we talked, and Kathy, feel free to jump in, but when we met with them, yeah.
2023?
yeah, So,
Okay, all right, thank you.
I mean, there's a chance this year, but probably spring, yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, Kathy, come to the microphone, please.
I know I talked to Chris about this, but I never wrote about it. I asked if there was money to do some type of drainage type of thing down at the athletic field, because over by the pavilion and the fence,
Yeah, in between there.
that's just all water most of the time. I don't know, I heard the word swell. Is that-
Swale?
Swale,
Yeah.
okay. You know, so I don't know if there could be something done there, some type of drainage.
Mm-hmm.
So there wouldn't be so much water there, and in
Maybe
front
we
of the
could-
pavilion as well.
Maybe we could look into, is that part of the vulnerability?
That probably would be.
Yeah.
On the MVP grant.
Yeah.
What I have right now is a list of about a half a dozen places that we're considering, that we want to bring to their attention, and that planning grant happens. Once it's in, if the consultant agrees with us and puts that in the plan, then it becomes eligible for
So
those.
is that something I should put in writing and,
I noted
Bring it
it
to
here,
you?
so I can
Okay,
add it
so
to the
you're all
list
set.
for
Okay.
MVP, because that might be.
yeah,
a good
because I
way to
know
do
I
it,
mentioned it
especially if it's
before.
something that's getting worse because of
Yeah.
frequent storms and things of that nature. Yeah.
Right,
So-
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. So I suppose, unless somebody wants to amend this,
I do have one request. Having been explained the Berkshire Bounty issue, can we do that as a separate vote? Because I think I have a relative who may be working for them just recently, so I want to recuse myself from that particular vote. I'm not sure, but I think that is who this person works for.
So-
So if we could do everything, or do that first, and I can recuse
Yeah.
myself from that vote, and then make the motion on the rest of it, that would be, I have
sure.
no problem with that.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the Berkshire Bounty stipend of $5,000 for the ARPA money.
So moved.
And I'll recuse myself.
I'll second. If there's no further discussion on that, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can you make that note, please?
Yeah, got it.
Then, so the Berkshire Bounty was $5,000, and we can take the rest
Yep.
on as a motion at this point, I believe, so if anybody would like to.
I'd make a motion that we approve our ARPA expenditures for the remaining items listed per this document, totaling $696,000.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion on the ARPA money? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's the ARPA money. Next, we have Master Plan Committee Board of Selectmen members. So we have the opportunity or the basically the planning board is going to update the master plan, and a member of this board in my opinion, should attend that. And I would like to express my own interest in serving on this board, unless there's somebody else who would like to put their name forward, or anybody has an objection with that board. And I know you have a lot of planning experience, so.
But I would be more than pleased to have you take the lead, and I would not do one more thing. Got enough irons in the fire right now, I don't need another one. So as long as, I mean, if nobody else wanted it, I would do it, but if you're willing,
I'm gonna follow this.
Sure you are. Okay, well, anyway, I am more than happy if either one of the two of you want to do it, and I will stand back.
I moved that Sean Rennie be appointed as the select board member for the master plan committee.
I'll be happy to second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next order of business, we have the Canada Impact Agreement. And do I have that in front of me here somewhere? Oh, you got it? There we go.
And I did want to mention that Meg from Canada Provisions is here.
Hey,
and
Meg.
If we have any questions for her. So thanks for joining us.
And I'll be recusing myself from this, being a part-time employee of Canada Provisions.
Okay, so I have a signed copy of the Cannabis Community Impact Fee. Do you have one? Good,
I
Courtney's
do.
got one.
I have a copy of this.
Do you have any questions as far as anything on here? I was involved in a little of the back and forth here, so I'm pretty familiar with what's here, but I don't know.
Well, I had met with town administrator here, Mr. Britton, and he sort of gave me the highlights of what's happened in the past and what the intention was for the future. And as long as Canada Provisions has agreed to this, then I don't have any disagreement with it. So I am absolutely fine with it the way it's written.
Okay. I am as well, so I'd entertain a motion to approve the chair to sign, is that?
Sure. I would make a motion to allow the chair to sign the Cannabis Community Impact Fee Amendment to the November 19th, 2021 agreement with Canada Provisions.
Second. Nobody has anything further at this point? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Um,
And you're all set.
You can sign that one.
which one? There are two different copies here,
That-
with two different dates. This one?
That's the,
This
the updated one.
Here, you can
Yeah.
shred that one.
Yeah. There was an extra letter J in there. Well, there was another item, but it was taken.
Yes.
Don't shred that one. Okay, pending business, we have none. Then we come down to town administrator. Chris, is there something else you would like to
Just a
let us
couple
know about?
quick things. As I did mention earlier, we did add a section on the news part of the website that does have, as the board requested, the PCB forum submission form, as well as the letter. So that is all set, as was mentioned before. I did have some rest of river updates, which we get on a weekly basis, and the most current one states that they are on the 4th BMP surface water sampling that's scheduled for the end of July. EPA will collect a split sample from one of the locations for quality control. The 3rd dam inspection is going to be taking place at Rising Pond and Woods Pond Dam, and that's scheduled for August 17th. And then GE is continuing to sample the Reach 5A floodplain, and the EPA contractors provide oversight of those sampling activities, and they expect to continue that through August. And I did email a copy to you guys as well.
Yeah, thank you.
From the police department is continuing. It kind of has to do with the CANA agreement that we just did, but one of the items on there was the police co-responder, and that We are working with Stockbridge and Lennox as a joint venture in that, and that still is in progress. They're working on office space for our person, and we hope to have someone hired soon, and that will be a mental health co-responder that will assist the three departments. Our portion paid from CANA, impact money, and I'm not sure where Lennox and Stockbridge is doing theirs, but it would be a third, and it's be done through Tri-Town, so they're being added over in the Araldi building for right now. And then the last thing I had was this was just shared by the school, and I wanted to share it with the board. It's some data about their COVID testing, so it just gives some data on how many people were tested and so forth, how many days of school were saved because of it, and so on. So just some info to share there, some really interesting and good information that the superintendent had shared. And the last thing I'll bring up for any other topic that couldn't be anticipated, we did just get a Berkshire gas permit, which you all have a copy of. So it does not have any, they will not be cutting any pavement on this. So it was signed off on by the police and the DPW, and it's just left to this board for final approval.
So this is an application for a permit, exposing test station box next to sidewalk area. So this isn't a installation. This is just,
It's like maintenance.
Yeah, it looks like
maintenance
it's a
kind of
maintenance
thing.
of their
Okay.
existing equipment, is the way yep,
and then there's some pictures at the end there, right?
right. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose we can approve this if there's no issues.
I make a motion that we approve Berkshire Gas Company permit for work at 115 East Center Street.
I'll second that.
Anything further? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If you want to sign that one for me, Sean, we'll be all set. I believe before we adjourn, the only thing we need the full board to sign is for the ABCC. So,
Blue or black, doesn't matter. Just checking.
So
the vitals it does, but not in.
Our next regular meeting is August 2nd. If there's nothing further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.